A special guest today is a old mate of mine that we've just hooked up again thanks to LinkedIn. We've probably not seen each other for about 25 years plus. It's got to be, but it's a pleasure to welcome to the show singer songwriter my old mate Gary O'Donnell. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well, Joe. Thanks very much for the invite, and great to see. Regardless of 25 years or whatever, you haven't changed at all.
It's
So it's almost like it could be 25 seconds, actually, mate.
I first met you. You were bartending the Lennon Bar on Matthew Street. We got chatting. I used to
That's
go
right.
there quite regularly. The more I got to know you, I kept going in there because I was just fascinated by your musical stuff. And then
I'm free Guinness.
I'm free Guinness. When did you actually start in music?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, went to a school called John Hamilton's Comprehensive School, and funny enough, I'm there now as an enterprise advisor. Weirdly enough, like going back and seeing the kids. So I was kind of I guess you'd say a grade A scholar. I ended up being in a special class that took all of their exams a year early because I was an avid reader, and I really, loved academia. And I was especially into, because I've been a fisherman since I was a kid, I wanted to be an oceanographer. That was my thing. So I took my exams a year early, but you didn't leave school a year early, by the way. You did an extra sixth form year. I don't know if any of your American audience, what that equates to in terms of their grading system. But so you didn't get out of school a year early. You just had the opportunity to do your exams a year early and stay an extra year to make up the tally. And in that first year, I got into music, really, in a massive, in fact, such a big way that it changed my life, because academia just went out the window, and I just wanted to be able to be in a group that didn't have a clue what I was doing, knew I wanted to be a keyboard player, so I persuaded my dad to buy me an electric piano on HP, and then I'd just be going, thinking I was amazing, trying to figure it out. And it wasn't too long, probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 months of trying to. My heroes were the keyboard player with an English band called XTC, then Barry Andrews, had this kind of crazy science fiction organ sound. And Dave Greenfield from the Stranglers, who's like Ray Manzarek from the Doors. So I wanted to be able to play and trying to do what my dad bought me another keyboard, a string machine, and then I joined the group quite quickly, who had a synth. So I had 3 keyboards within 7 months. Didn't know what I was doing with them, but weirdly enough, we did a demo not long after that. And then about the time I should have been doing my geography A-level oral, we got a John Peel session on Radio 1. So within 8 or 9 months of me starting out, I thought I was going to be enormous. So I just left school,
Yeah.
and then tried to get jobs and bits and bobs and things that would allow me to play music. So very early on, mate, I would say, from probably 1981 was the time I started to. That was the year really of that, so quite a while, yeah.
And you started writing straight away.
Well, I was thrust into that, if I'm honest, because the group I joined, the guitarist was the, in inverted commas, the singer, but he wasn't very good. I mean, I wasn't any good either, to be honest. But, in me joining them and then becoming a 4-piece, we sort of knocked it together. And there was a bit in one song where I said, I'll sing a bit there, in that little bit, not knowing how to write songs or anything. And then that just progressed. I ended up singing one then, and then. So yeah, pretty quickly, mate, I was into, because what I was saying before about playing the notes and trying to write, you're trying to figure things out. Aren't you listening to records and going, how did he do that?
Yeah.
So I guess that's what you do when you're writing songs in inverted commas. So yeah, I was thrust into it quickly because I had to produce, music and play as a valid member in this group. So that meant coming up with, I guess, some songs to sing as well, you know. So we split the load. So yeah, so quite quickly I was thrust into trying to write stuff as well.
Okay, we're going to play some tracks today. And the first
Oh
track's
yeah.
going to be called This Is Our Town. Do you want to talk us through it before we play the track?
Well, so this collection of songs that this is from an album called Growing Pains. That there's a tale here that's been threatening to come out for quite a while. Through one thing or another, it's been awkward to try and get it so it works out advantageously for me, I guess, as the one who wants someone to put it out. So I've had a bit of interest. But the idea behind the album and this song was, Growing Pains was a collection of 12 songs, and I saw it as a traditional album. So tracks 1 to 6 as side 1, and tracks 7 to 12 as side 2. And so side 1, starting with This Is Our Town, is kind of getting to a point in life at track 6 where you know who you are, because the songs themselves are meant to be, I guess, little vignettes or stories of how you grow up. So with This Is Our Town as track 1, it's not like being born, but it's being familiar with where you're from. And like the opening sample was meant to represent like life in the park on a Sunday afternoon and the village green and everyone having ice cream. And the references to Mr. Brown's Milk Round and people, the small town gossip, the, you know, familiar things that you identify with. This is where I'm from, you know. Yeah. And so this was a starting point for the whole album. Was This Is Our Town, to say, right, here I am.
Okay, let's hear it. This Is Our Town, Gary O'Donnell.
Well, I'll give the word. Now, are you ready with your cork, sir? Great big smile. That's beautiful. Ready?
This is our town, so take a look around. How many folks do you see like me? Walking down the road to their happy homes, talking on their phones about cartoons, politics, cornflakes, Weetabix, the issues of our across the market stalls with handbags drawn, women and their kids go from to tongue. Along the building sites, everything seems alright. Just over your shoulder at Mr. Brown's Milk Round, right by your side. It's glamour and reality, fashionable supremacy, the issues of our day. Just over your shoulder, it's Mr. Brown's Milk Round, right by your side. It's clever and reality, battle for supremacy. Clever and reality, battle for supremacy. Clever and reality, battle for supremacy. Clever and reality, slow guitar for you and me. This is our town. Oh, this is our town. Oh, this is our town. Oh, this is our town.
That's a great track. I've been singing that lately, actually, since you sent me it. out of all of them.
Oh.
Do you know when I listen to your stuff, Gary? Listen to a lot of original stuff as much as I can, and it's always because I do a thing called Jukebox Jury on this show, and I bring a couple of other musicians from out here on, and we discuss music, and it's always been like, yeah, that reminds me a little bit of that. But your stuff, I can't pinpoint it. I can never say reminds me of it because I really have always thought your stuff was really unique, honestly, because I'd known you a while before I actually saw you live, and I went to Lomax and saw you. Blew me away. It was live as well. You're great, you know.
Well, I mean, I don't know, you know, well, I'm flattered, mate, humbled, because, you know, very, very similar feelings to your own musical prowess, you know what I mean? So,
but your chord structures, I mean, your melodies and your chord structures, they're out there. They're very, very, they're very unusual, you know.
Well, I think this might sound a bit bonkers given what you've said. I don't know. I mean, I try to keep things quite simple in the sense that, you know, I won't have too many variations, you know, and the chopping and changing will be just, you know, an invasion of a chorus or a bridge or a verse. You know, keep the format kind of, and I kind of, what I've come to learn, Joe, is to let the song now take care of itself, as opposed to, you know, when you signed or you're chasing things or you're doing things, you know, do a bit of film music and stuff, and you know, when you have other things that drive what you're doing, and they kind of be not alongside your control as well as are beyond it. You know, you can become you can be restricted in ways that you think at the right time are good. And I think what I've learned about music, and what I really wanted to do with this bunch of songs, was actually say, you know what, if a song's 7 minutes long, that's the way it was meant to be. Or if it was 2 minutes, you know, and let the music kind of take care of itself. And you know yourself, and every musician will, you have a feeling, don't you? If something doesn't sit right, it shouldn't be there, then it shouldn't be there. But if your gut's saying that's okay, then, you know, you've got to have the courage to sort of follow your instincts, I think. So I think I try to keep it simple in my own way, you know, this follows this follows this. But yeah, I guess some of the textures and ingredients can seem a little off the wall. But then to me, it's like the whole, someone heard it in Singapore, who's another musician like yourself. He's a music teacher and very, very fantastic sax player, you know. And he was like, wow, it's the Danny Elfman album. You know, what's all this? You know, I can see Edward Scissorhands. And I was like, well, yeah, I can see that. You know, other people have said XTC, obviously, because it's just a bit spiky, you know. Yeah, it just is what it is, mate, yeah.
We all have our influences, yeah, but as I say, I can't quite pinpoint your stuff to say, that sounds like that, or it not even reminds me of much stuff, to be honest with you. I think your voice is unusual too, though. I really do.
Again, I'm just trying to sing it as I feel it, really, as I see it, you know. But I think similar to yourself, because I know this is true of your own stuff, and always has been. And we won't get into the prefab sprouts, mate. But the first time I heard your stuff, I went, wow, it sounds like Paddy McAloon. Who wouldn't want to be in his company, right?
Right.
So, you know, take from that what you will. But I think it's like anything, you absorb your influences, don't you, over the years or whatever. And then, like every single other person on the planet, until the Martians come down and tell us to do it a different way, you'll just dump out whatever you ingest. You'll dump out your version, and your version will have bits of that. It might smell a bit like that, be the same shape here and there, but well, it's going to be, isn't it? But ultimately, it'll be your interpretation of that, And I think that's with all of us as humans. We hear something, we go, "Oh, what sounds like? There's bits," and that's quite comforting, I think. You know, because it'd be really weird if someone said, "I don't know what that is." You know what I mean?
I remember when "Don't Look Back in Anger" came out. everybody, it's the intro of Imagine. It's the intro of Imagine.
Exactly.
But how clever was that? Because it grabbed your attention. Then it just went, slip inside. So that was very clever, Noel Gallagher. You know,
Yeah, I mean, well, there's an old story with them, isn't there? Because, I mean, he, weirdly enough, he was the guitar roadie for the Inspiral Carpets, wasn't he?
That's right, yeah.
Was it Revenge of the Goldfish, their third album, when the Real People supported them on that tour, and they became friends. And if you listen to the early Oasis stuff, you can hear the Real People.
Yeah,
but they're no slouches. The Griffiths. I mean, if you listen, you know, they were Jojo and the Real People before that. They could always play the nicking bits from here and there like you do, you know. So yeah, I think it's you know, I think you get to a point, don't you, with your music, like I said at the start, where you just think, as long as I'm pleased with what I do, that's the best it ever gets.
Let's play a second track. This one's called Speaking the Language. This is all of your new stuff you put together, right? Yeah.
So this song was, with side 1 to 6, the first song is This Is Our Town. Side 1 ends with a song called Yard Dogs, which is about actually finding people who you're familiar with, your mates, you know, you're also your people who you identify with, your other, you know, and to tell it from the point of view, you're always being underdogs, yard dogs is the thing for us, right? You know, never had it easy. And I'm not getting the violin out there. But this is Speaking the Language is the opener of side 2, and the idea for Speaking the Language is, now that I've met the people who have given me confidence, now I can go and test whether I can get through to anyone else. So, and again with songs, you don't want to be on the nose with meanings. I think you should always let people decide themselves a little bit, 50%, 60%, let them decide what they think the song is. You can say, well, it's kind of about this, but if it means that and a little bit more or a little bit less, that's okay.
Okay, this is Speaking the Language.
Speaking that language, come on. looking like a diamond in the rough is the devil in the detail. Mixed in with our crazy human stuff is the devil in the detail. In the details, it's looking like a diamond in the rough is the devil in the detail. In the details, mixed in with our crazy human. Tell me if I'm speaking that language. Come on, tell me if I'm speaking that language. Tell me if I'm speaking that language. Come on, tell me if I'm speaking that language. Come on, am I doing it?
Good stuff. Do you play everything yourself on your tracks, Gary? You do it all yourself, or do you bring any musicians in?
Well, that's a good question, mate.
I was listening to the bass on that a lot. I was enjoying the bass on that.
It's always a bit. I think it's a bit smug when you say you do everything, but yeah, I did everything. But the guitar and the bass, the bass, the guy who played the bass, is my old bass player, but I gave him the lines, so I said play that, and then he embellished it a little bit. I said, "Oh, that's good. Let's, So, and with the guitar, I didn't want anyone who had a sound, if you know what I mean. So it took me ages to find this young lad who just had a Telecaster. I've got tons of effects, and I wanted to create the sound for this record, for the guitar. So, and he was a fantastic player with absolutely no ego. So he was actually made up to be directed, try this. And again, he brought some of himself into it as well. So I'm not claiming the glory for the bass and guitar as well, But it's like that thing, when you're in a group, it's all great when you're all moving in the same direction. There's everyone follows a vision. And after a while, I think when you're trying to get record deals and all that stuff, that can wear a bit thin on the other members if they think, well, we're not getting anywhere. Why don't we do this and try that? So I think this was an opportunity to say, no, everything on this is what I want it to be myself. So I'll program the drums, I'll do the keyboards, I'll do the backing vocals, my own vocals. I'll do everything because I know what I want. I can hear it in my head. And the same with the bass and guitar. I kind of know what I want. I just can't physically play it. So get the people in and I have to say I've ended up with better results than I could have done if they'd have just did what I asked them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was like, I wonder if he's got a band on that because it's mixed great as well.
The funny thing about the mixing is, mate, again, and we could go off on a tangent here about recorded sound today and whatever, but that particular song, I had two people mix that who have done a bit, One guy, Graham Stewart's a great mate of mine. He works exclusively for Johnny Greenwood now, the guitarist from Radiohead. So he does all of his, he records all of the film scores he does. He records, engineers, edits. And he's become a music editor as well now. But he mixed it, first of all, and it was awful. And I never had the guts to tell him. And he did the Family If You Love album. He did loads of demos. I never had the guts to tell him that it was crap. I just said, "Oh, do you want to?" We had about 4 attempts. But you know what he did? He said, "Oh, it's too long." So he cut the middle off, the intro with all of the fax machine, and he cut that off. And he cut out the drop with the basses. He just went straight to the chorus. And I went, no, I don't want it. I don't want it to be less than it is. It's so. And Mike Cave, who's done loads of Universal stuff, he's done Interpol, Rufus Wainwright, everyone. He had to go with it, and he brick wall the mix. There's this thing now where you look instead of using your ears, you tend to use your eyes, don't you? When you're with computers now. So It's not so much about the ears, it's what you see.
It's a good point.
And when you see a WAV now, which is one big fat black line. You know, there's not much dynamic in it. You can see it where it doesn't drop. He basically cooked all the dynamics out, so all the drops at the same volume as everything else. There was, and he made the bass drum sound like someone hitting the like a tennis ball against the wall. It's just like this horrible. So it's no criticism of them because they're great at what they do. But like yourself and anyone else, your ears won't allow you to have anything less than. And so a guy called Peter Jeffrey mixed the album, who's a live engineer, but he's got fantastic ears for frequency. And when I gave him the monitor mix, he just gave me back all of the balances that I wanted. It just sounded like mine had been had a sheet of tracing paper on it. It was that clear, And then I gave it to a fella called Pete Marr to master it, who's he masters everyone basically, from U2 to me. But again, he's got this philosophy where he the people who are unknowns like me, he'll only charge them 25 quid to master the track because he's got this thing about putting something back. He makes his big money off the big artists, but he gives the little people like me the same attention, And when he got to what song was it? I think it was Gradually, because it was a business relationship. I'd just send him a track, and I wasn't sure whether the mix I'd send him, I'd say, well, look, when you master it, I don't know whether the backing vocals are going to be louder or do I have to worry about stuff? He went, no, it's, But when he did about 7 tracks, and I sent him in different orders, he sent me an email when he got Gradually back, and he said, you know what? He said, I really look forward to getting an email from you with a song on it. He said, because I love every single one you've ever sent me, and I think it's going to be a great record, this. I just thought, well, okay, I can carry on doing what I'm doing then, because someone would, he doesn't have to say it, does he? So that was nice.
But don't call yourself one of the little people. It's just the way the game's going right now. The really talented people who can write and sing and play are not on the radio, are they? So, I mean, if you go back to when you had record deals and you did the touring bit and all that, how do you feel the way the business has gone? I mean, I used to sell so many CDs at gigs. I mean, Spotify and iTunes and all that get your music out there, but by the time you make anything from downloads,
I haven't even got a website thing or anything really. I've tried to do a few things, Facebook, but I haven't got the patience to. Although I have, once I get the thing in a physical form, there's plenty of people I can reach, But mate, I don't know how long we could have to talk about this subject.
But it is frustrating because people don't realise the work that goes into it, the hours in the studio, the writing of the song.
No.
Then it goes out and you go, can you download this for 99 cents in America or 99 pence back home?
Well,
but I mean, if you look at it, you go, well, initially I used to think, well, if you get like 5,000 downloads, this $5,000. But it doesn't work like that with them formats, because if someone pays monthly for Spotify, so if you've got a Spotify account and you pay monthly, you can listen, or Amazon Music or Apple Music, you can listen to as many artists as you want and don't have to download the tracks because you pay that monthly fee. Yeah. Whereas if you just go on iTunes and just download the track for 99 cents, by the time the artist gets anything and everyone takes a cut. The main thing right now, but it's getting people to use is Bandcamp. Bandcamp, the artist gets 90%, but it's trying to get people to download a simple thing. Download the app and get the music that way because they're so programmed. I use iTunes, I use Spotify.
Well, what does that say about? So, all right, so we're venturing into territory now, aren't we? That it's the real interesting stuff. What does that say about society today in en masse? I'm not talking about individuals here, and that's not being hypercritical because some people, that's all they know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when people talking about records. Oh, vinyl's fashionable. Well, was it never unfashionable? I mean, I don't know that it ever was it? It's like books.
Yeah.
I've got books, tons of books and CD. Would they ever? Is someone going to say in 5 years CDs are fashionable again? We're being kind of coaxed into a way of thinking that we don't need to own anything or possess anything, and we need to have nothing. I see it all the time with bands, with keyboards. I'm a keyboard, but I got tons of analog synthesizers. I used to when I used to go and watch bands, I'd see what different synths and keys they had, and it gave a character to the look as well as the sound. Nowadays, people just got a Nord or a keyboard and a laptop, and there's no character. Yeah. There's no character in, I can't tell. The sound used to have a top 10 of keyboard players, number one would probably always be John Lord from Whitesnake, but you'd have, different keyboard players in with different sounds. And, if you ever heard Steve Naive with Elvis Costello and the Attractions, you knew his sound, the Vox Continental, you knew it was him, you knew it was Dave Green from The Stranglers, you knew it was Dave Formula from Magazine with his jazzy kind of Harp Odyssey, and you could tell keyboard players without seeing them. Yep. Nowadays, that's all gone, to a degree. Correct me if I'm wrong. So back to the question about, the culture and with music and downloading and stuff. It's gone absolutely full circle. When we had a record deal, and this was synonymous of every band, until I had the deal, I used to wonder about why record companies didn't want bands to tour. And of course, it was because if Prefab Sprout or Duran, whoever it was, went on tour to promote Rio, the record company have to fund the whole production, the hotels, the rigs, the this, the that. Why did they need to do it when the albums are selling by the bucket load and making the record company a fortune? So the touring is unnecessary because they don't need to promote it when it's at number one. Yeah, it's just going to cost the record company money. Nowadays, people can get the music for nothing, like you say, on accounts. So people are frivolous. So no record companies now will sign anyone, a major company or even a mini major company won't sign or license anyone even now if they haven't got a touring profile where they can sell merch, because they make money off the merch now. Yeah. And you never used to. And you'll have someone like Suzanne Vega, let's say, who'll do an album in a house, pay for it to be mastered, then she'll license it to a label like Cook and Vinyl, who'll put it out. And then when she goes on tour, she'll buy, I don't know, 20,000 copies, £2 to go from them. And then when she does a world tour, she'll be on the stall signing them and selling them for 15 quid or $20. Yeah. And that's the difference now.
I mean, when I'm in San Antonio, I got to know Yannick Jers from Iron Maiden through the years. He just happened to come in the place I was playing one night, and every time they're in town, they come back. Yannick was telling me, he said, we're never on the radio. We make our money, with the touring now. As you said, it's a different thing back then than the way it is now. They make the money on the touring and selling merch. They've got their own beer. Trooper beer. Iron Maiden Trooper beer. Yeah. The T-shirts. Right, Only last week, we had the Alamo Dome's close to where I do my regular gig. Slammed after the show. They had Joan Jett was on. Yeah. The gig started at like 4:30 in the afternoon. Joan Jett and the Blackhearts was on. Poison, Motley Crue. Yeah. And they had Def Leppard. Yeah. Everyone come flooding in with all the T-shirts on, and we were slammed afterwards. We're an Irish, in this Irish pub, slammed till 2 a.m. All coming in for food and drink afterwards. So the merchandise, as you say, and the touring now, where it wasn't then, but now these old bands that's how they're making the money now. They're on the road.
That's right. They're getting out there and playing. And back when we were going to see these bands, we'd be just made up. We'd be going to see them. Where we wouldn't care, but not realising that maybe the bands themselves weren't that keen to do another tour, and certainly the record company didn't want them to do another tour because it was costing them an arm and a leg.
We're going to go into your third track, Gary. This is the basics. Okay. Talk us through this one.
Okay, so with this song, I already had like a batch of songs, and they're about 2/3, I guess, ready for another record, even before this first one's come on. But what had happened was, I had a song called God's Lonely Man, which was meant to be the song that the basics took the place of, but I just couldn't sing it. All the music's done, it's finished, and I just couldn't get it right, And I was like, oh, well, that's stumped me now, because I need a fifth song in that place. It'll be unbalanced. And I was toying with the bass line, but this little thing going on, you know. And then I thought, you know what? What I really want to do is have something that sounds a bit like a sort of 80s synth funk band, a bit like one of my first bands, Foundation, a bit like that, and have some of those sort of naive elements in it. And what if, for the content, lyrically, we have something about, you know, as a song just before Yard Dogs, getting to grips with, because God's Lonely Man was a bit like that, about finding your gang the step before. Don't try too hard. You know, keep things simple. Keep things simple, and you'll find people who you associate with. That was the theme. So that gave rise to the title and the lyric. And then the music, I thought, well, I wanted to sound a bit like Sesame Street. Sunny days, everything's okay, and the little whistle, and them sort of moments, you know.
Right.
So get a bit of that in there, and anyway, it ends up being. So it took a year longer to get to that track. Actually,
Okay.
it was the last one I did.
Yeah, it is the basics.
No need to tear a script of yourself. Settle down. Every box will have that tick before you know it. Just like the rest. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Raise your hands. Let the feelings take control. No need to put that weight on your chest. Join the dots. And then suddenly you're hooked before you know it. Just like the best. Oh yeah. So don't break a finger or a thumb. Simple is the key. Forget in the job done. Take the initiative. If it fits, no complications. Use the basics. Na 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 na. 1, 2, 3. Na 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 na. Communicate. Touch your feelings, make them known. Don't let the words get in the way. Push yourself, grab the world with your two hands and in control. You pass the test. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Don't break the finger or a thumb. Simple is the key. Forget in the job done. Take the initiative. If it fits, no complications. We use the basics. Na 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 na. 1, 2, 3. Na 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 na. no complications needed. Use the basics. One, two, three.
Yeah, that's pretty funky, that one. There's quite a variation on all the tracks, isn't he? On this this album, it's, you know, every track's different. There's a lot of variation because you're very creative. That's what I'm saying. It's very different each track. You don't know what's coming next.
Well, that's, you know, that's again, mate. That's a gracious of you. I mean, again, it's not. There's no. I didn't do it on purpose. It just, you know, it just ended up that way. You know what I mean?
Just how you naturally work, isn't it?
That, you've nailed it, mate. That's just yeah. It's naturally how my brain's wired, I think. You know, and
what I wanted to ask you as well is, did you know the samples you use at the beginning of a lot of your stuff? Where do you actually find them?
Oh, in different places, mate. They come from. That was also an idea to have. Not every song, but the bulk of them have got something. You know, that
like a little intro,
a taster, I guess.
Yeah,
there's a little taster. Yeah, for I mean, they're all public domain things, so there's no copyright problems with any of it. I had that, you know, because I'm a bit of a film buff. Things had stuck with me, you know, and when I had an idea of a song, I thought, you know what would be great for that? There's a song called Encyclopedia, which is the third track, side one, which is about you being the source of, you soak everything up and you regurgitate it. And I thought, there's a great thing in The Time Machine with Rod Taylor, the 1960 George Pal one, where he says to the hero, he says, do you have books? And they go, books? Yes, we have books. And I thought, that'll be the intro for that, because it just sets it up. It just, different things, they're all sorts of stored away, you know. There'll be something that I think, oh, you know what would sound good there, that quote from Peter Finch in Network or whatever, you know. So they just, sometimes they're amalgamated as well. I'll get bits from different things, and like that. That's Richard Nixon. Is it Richard Nixon? It's either Nixon or I'm sure it is Nixon or Kennedy talking about the space missions.
Well, what about the you were telling me you're also doing some film music apart from all this?
Yeah,
you got some stuff going on there, and you've done some stuff out here in the States as well.
Yeah, well, I probably do more stuff for American people than I do here. I've been doing it since we lost the deal. Actually, we came out, you know, we supported Bjork in Japan, got home, got dropped 2 days later, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do then. As musically, I was like kind of gutted, you know, what am I going to do now? You know, I haven't even got a job now. And then someone who I know had won a bursary to make a movie, a short film, and he said, yeah, can't you do some music? You know, I was like, yeah, didn't know what to do. Like, just cobbled it together somehow. We knew someone about Cubase, and we, you know, I'd get the film on it. And then the company that gave me the bursary had these 3 other films. She thought, can you do music for 2 more then? Because we haven't got it. We don't know any composers. I'm not a composer, you know. But I'd always loved film music. Film music was my first love, you know. Yeah. So it gave me an opportunity then to, you know, just like I was talking about starting off playing keyboard, just to get stuck in and try and do something and tic-tac my way around. So, yeah, so I've done lots and lots of things, but I don't have an agent, so I just do things by word of mouth, really. Someone will say to some, but of course, everyone else does music now, everyone, everywhere, you know, someone knows someone, and you can get music from libraries, people who just do trailer music now, you know. And actually, a lot of what I do for the people I do, I also have to fight against the download culture where they'll download something and people get used to that, you know. Filmmakers will generally, and always have done, you know, for God knows how long, they'll temper film with some music to get an idea of tension and emotion and pace, and they become that enamored with the temp that they get someone to copy it, or they buy the temp. You know, in Alien, Ridley Scott's film is temped with Jerry Goldsmith's music from other films, and he wrote cues for that film that they threw out and used his music from other films, which he hated, and he put the cues in different order, you know. So it happens a lot. So I have to fight against that because everyone wants something for nothing. But I have done, that guy I mentioned who did the first film, he's a filmmaker in America now. He's got a media company. So I do the bulk of his stuff. I've just done a couple of series that he's got on Amazon Prime. I've just done a piece for a guy from Universal actually, which I think I'd sent to you, which is like he wrote the tune. I just had to arrange it, I guess, in a big way, you know. So I think that's for something to do with Harry Potter, the Harry Potter exhibition or something. I don't know.
We've got one more track to play, guys. This is one you spoke about earlier called "Gradually."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is. Let's play this one. This is "Gradually," and then we'll talk about the track after we play the song.
Okay,
yeah?
mate.
Okay, it's "Gradually."
There are things of which I may not speak. There are dreams that cannot die. There are thoughts that make the strong heart weak, and a mist before the eye. And the words of that fatal song come over me like a chill, and the thoughts of youth are long, long thoughts.
The wind still blows the news around the panes. No one seems to notice. The faces I can see still look the same. No one has to know this. Would I still stay here? Well, I don't have the time But if I might, 'cause gradually my world, gradually my world oh my world, gradually my world is slowing down. The wind still blows the news around the bend.
Voice is great on that, Gaz. Vocals are amazing on that.
Well,
Very, very
well,
haunting. And a great track all round.
well, yeah. Well, again, mate, you know, I can't really answer that.
I mean, is this
Thanks.
record going to be? It's going to be available.
I think there's a company called Fretsaw Records. I think who are going to be the ones who are going to put it out. You know, so
Okay.
we've just got to agree on the artwork, and I'll let you know if it. You know,
Yeah.
I'll obviously send you the copy and whatnot, but I'll let you know all about that. And Jesus, there's been a few people, you know, because I've had Tom Robinson's played, you know, stuff, and I've had a lot of radio shit, but I've had nothing to back it up with along the way because I haven't. It's been a bit stop-starty, you know, just getting it to. But then my view is, you know, if the music was no good 5 years ago, it's not going to be good 5 years from now, is it? And what does the time matter really, as long as the sentiment and the sound is consistent, you know? The funny thing about that song, to get that kind of right, I think, you know, it took a little while to get it right, you know what I mean? So it opened up in the way that it should and closed in the way it should. And where it sits on the album, it's the very last song, it's the 12th track on so the two sides I mentioned at the very beginning, track 1 to 6 is Up the Hill of Life. Yeah, Doug, you're at the top of the hill. Speaking a language, you're at the top of the hill. Then you come down the hill of life where you've got no time, but you seem like you've got lots of time as well. And so, the frenetic energy and push of this is our time. I've got to be over there, but I'm over here.
Yeah.
Gradually, it's, you know, it's basically about someone who's dying, who's lying there, but surrounded by the friends, and they're saying, you know what, it's okay. I haven't got time for that, but maybe another time. And actually, everything I see now is just like it was in song 1. So I'm all right. That's the backing behind the song. Yeah. The wind still blows the news around the pages. The person's looking out the window, seeing the wind blow the newspapers up against the glass. You know, it's not. Yeah, it's okay. You know.
And who's the sample at the beginning of that one? Who's speaking at the beginning of that
one? Well, that's an interesting story because if anyone's ever seen a film called In the Bedroom with Sissy Spacek and Tom Wilkinson.
Okay, I haven't seen it. No.
Okay, well, Tom Wilkinson, the English actor, was nominated for an Oscar for this, and it's about a family who they've got a son who they want to be a high flyer, who gets involved with Marisa Tomei, who's a girl who's got a child to an angry partner, a ne'er-do-well, and he's wavering whether to go and progress his career, and his dad is kind of in favour of having that spark of life, whereas Sissy Spacek wants him to get the education, and he gets killed in a fight with the partner, so their lives are kind of ruined, and the fella who kills them gets away with it. And the In the Bedroom reference is they go lobster potting at the beginning of the film, and they find two lobsters with the claws cut off, and the kids, because he's taking the young kids with him on the trips before he gets. what's happened? And the father says, oh, well, that's what happens when two get in the bedroom. They harm each other, and that's what him and his wife do.
Oh, wow.
They harm each other over the death of the son. And what happens is a fantastic, I won't tell you what happens in the story, but the quote, in two parts in the film, him and his son go to play cards with these fellas, and they bet for matchsticks or whatever, bottle tops they play for. And there's a fella who gives a quote of like Walt Whitman or Thoreau, and he says a quote, and they all go, whoa, there he is, and they start playing. And the first time after the son dies, they go and play cards. No one's saying anything. And Tom Wilkinson says, for God's sake, will somebody speak? And he says that.
Oh, wow.
He comes out with that. I've tailored it actually so it suits the song a little bit more, but he comes out with this, and the thoughts of youth, the long, long thoughts. So, well, that just says it all. You know, it's well.
Gary, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And it's been too long.
Always,
but actually,
it's been great to see you.
It's great to be in touch again, you know. And
it's forever now, isn't it? So.
Yeah, and best of luck with the album. The songs sound great, and I don't know what my plans are about visits home or anything, but next time I do, I'll definitely hit you up, or if not, you'll have to come over here.
Oh well, but I'm sure both will happen, mate. But it's all I wanted to say is it's been great. In our 25 seconds apart, you haven't changed, and thanks for being so gracious and kind with your comments, and thanks very much for giving me the chance to talk and for you to play the songs.
All great stuff, mate, and very interesting. Gary O'Donnell, everybody.
Joe Wormsley, everybody. He's the main man. See you soon, mate. Good luck, everyone. Stay well.
Thank you.